How's it going, everybody, and welcome to the channel. So in today's video I'm going to show you how to build two workbenches, one on wheels and one wall mounted, that combine into one workbench. It's going to have storage room, it's going to have somewhere to sit, it's going to be awesome. So let's first show you what these look like when they're combined, and then I'll show you how I build them. And now the workbench is completely out of the way, it's slid back against the wall, there's no gap between the wall, you can still open the window, you can still use the monitor, the laptop, everything you need to do, and now there's nothing here to get in the way of me pulling in the truck. So let's jump into how I made these. First step is I need to cut 2 notches, and I need to cut a line across the edge to straighten it up. Now I'm going to finish it off with the oscillating tool. Alright, we have the desktop cut, we have it all square, we have the pieces notched out for where the wall will be, and we cut a whole bunch of 2x4s. So the 2x4s we cut are for the frame and the bracing of the tabletop, and also the supports to keep it standing up. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put together the tabletop, we're going to get it into place, and then we're going to support it with the beams. We're not using any glue for right now. We're going to put everything in place, see how it looks, and then it is all subject to change. But if it looks good, we'll then take it down, paint everything, glue everything, put it up one last time, and it'll be done. Alright, so I have everything laid out here. I have everything flipped upside down in the position I want to mount it. If I would mount it here, that means the plywood would sit flush with the 2x4s. Since the 2x4s are a little rounded, I want the plywood to be inset a little bit. So I'm going to put these shims underneath the plywood so it sits up. I can secure everything, and then we'll flip it over and put it up to test fit it. Alright, we have everything screwed together. This will be the back brace that actually goes into the wall. These are the 3 support beams that the legs will be standing on. And then there's the outside edge around it. So what we're going to do now is flip this over, see if it fits, and go from there. And first the workbench is done. Seems like it'll hold up well enough. Alright, for the second workbench we have the top cut out, and we have a lot of the pieces cut out. It's really only the skeleton frame of it. So what we're going to do is we want to put this all together. I'm not going to mount the top right now, but we're going to throw the skeleton together and make sure it fits over top of that existing workbench like we want it to. And then we're going to go from there and reinforce it with a lot of the extra pieces. We are actually going to put the tabletop in here because I forgot the legs will rest on the inside on top of the tabletop. So we're going to do the same with the shim so it sits a little bit recessed, lay it down, and then we're going to tighten all the rest of the stuff up. So I have the legs installed, and when I went to put on the next piece, I quickly realized I installed the legs in the wrong location and wrong direction. So let's take it back off and install them in the right place. Now that we have the legs mounted correctly, we are going to attempt to flip over the table and then assemble the bottom bracing pieces. Let's see how it goes. Alright, we have the skeleton and the workbench all put together. So now we're going to push it back against the wall and see how it fits there. And then try and put it over top of this one and see how it fits there and see if we need to modify it. Alright, so it fits nice and flush against the wall. So this ledge hangs out 4 inches farther than here. So we can push it all the way back and then it'd still be touching the wall. It comes right under the outlet so you can still plug stuff in. And then it does fit right under the TV between that workbench and the door. So now it's time to see if that will fit over that. And it perfectly fits over this. So that means whenever I have the truck in here, I can move the workbench over here. Can still pull the truck in, and whenever the truck isn't in here, I can have 2 workbenches along the back wall. So now that the skeleton is built of the workbench, we're going to put some more stuff on it just to make it look better. I don't know what we're going to do yet, but we'll figure it out. Okay, so we have the skeletons built, we made sure they fit together, and then I had a couple days to think about how I wanted to finish this. So I think I have an idea in mind of how I want to finish it, paint it, what additional pieces we need to cut. It'll still fit over there, and then it'll give me some additional storage. So first step, let me cut all the rest of the pieces. Pieces are cut, now it's time to attach them. So what we're going to be working on right now is the banding around. So we have this one, we have this in progress, and we need to modify the bottom a little bit. So once we're done, we'll have the band around the middle, the bottom, and the top. And we'll also have some of the face pieces. I'm going to put all those on and then measure the additional pieces so we can get as tight as fit as possible. So how we're going to make sure this is in the right spot is we're going to put the 2x4 and then place this on top of it. But this front beam will actually be raised up a little bit so it sits flush with the shelf. Sits flush with the plywood we're going to put in to make the shelf. So what we're going to do is insert the little spacers right here and right here. It's the same thickness as the plywood that we're going to put on. I'm going to line this up. And then I'm going to attach it. Right now I'm trying to figure out if this should be offset like the ones below. The difference is going to be, you're going to see this shelf. This is going to be open and this is going to be closed. So yeah, I'll figure that out along the way. Alright, so I measured 16.5 inches over. I marked my line all the way down. I adjusted the saw blade so it's just below the thickness of the wood. I also propped this up with a 2x4 all the way down. And the reason for that is so we can just cut along. As this falls down, it'll just fall down 1.5 inches to the horse saw. And then I can go all the way down, cut it. Okay, we have 2 of the panels cut. We have one for the bottom shelf and one for this faceplate. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to flip this down. We're going to put the faceplate on first. We're going to flip it back up. We're going to put the bottom shelf on, and then I'll figure out what I'm doing about this shelf. Alright, earlier we said we were going to decide if this beam needed to stay here or go up. I decided it needed to go up because I'm going to put another 2x4 right along this side, because this is a shelf where most of the heavy stuff's going to be. So yep, I'm going to move it. Alright, so we have the side panels in place, we have the bottom shelf in place, the front panel in place. We still need to secure a couple places, but it's getting to the point where it would be nice to move this around easier, so we're going to install the caster wheels. So these caster wheels I got off Amazon, I think they were like $34 for the set of 4. Should hold up to 880 pounds. This should be less than 880 pounds. So we're going to put them all together, attach them, and see how well this works out. We removed the bottom brace and the panel because they were down too low, so I'm actually going to raise them up. But the first thing I want to do is put all this on here. Hi, Roy. So what I'm going to do is just use a screwdriver and do that. I already drew where they should be. So what I did was I put the wheels on. I put them up here where the wheels were just barely touching the ground, because the point is whenever you step down on them, the wheels will push up so you can move it. So I drew where they needed to be, and then I needed to remove the lever in the wheel so I could actually attach it. These are going to be really cool. So what I'm doing now is just attaching the wheel, the lever, putting it back on, still using one of the wrenches. I did get a ratchet because it's faster. Okay, so the feet are on and the cross brace is mounted. We did have to notch it out in the back and in the front for the lever, and in the back for the bracket where it mounted to the leg, but it is on now, same for the other side. And now we need to cut this piece. Here's the piece we have to cut. So instead of me trying to hold it with my left hand and cut a straight line with the saw with my right hand, I'd rather just take it. We have a sawhorse here, or if you have a workbench or anything, take it and just use a wood clamp. Clamp it down. Now it's on for the most part. It's not the best clamp, but it gives me both hands to use the saw and cut as straight a line as I can. Before we caulk and paint, we want to put some glue down. So I have some liquid nail, heavy duty. If I run out of this, I have regular liquid nail. So I don't think it needs to be heavy duty. What I'm going to do is I'm going to glue these panels and then I'm going to screw them down. So gluing the panels isn't really to hold the panels on, it's to add the added structure to the, or the added rigidity to the structure so that it's holding at all points and it doesn't shift. Because as I push up and down on these wheels and lower this and raise this, this is going to shift, and if I don't have something bracing it in place, it's just going to wiggle loose, and then I'm going to have a loose cabinet that's going to fall down. So I'm going to glue these on, so I'll pull these off for now. Okay, so the last step before we can start caulking is I need to put the braces for this middle shelf. So I'm going to take these little half 2x4s that I cut. I already drilled a hole, pilot hole through so it won't split them. Hopefully, I am then going to put them level with this. And we have the last piece, which is the shelf in place. So we did notch out 3 spots for the 3 support beams there. And now it is time to test fit it. So everything's all in place. The glue should be dry-ish. ish by now. So we're gonna put it up on the wheels, put it against it, make sure it fits. If it does, we're gonna screw in that, screw in the top piece. We're gonna caulk all around the outside, the front, anywhere else we need to, and then we'll let it dry and it should be ready for paint. Next thing we're going to be doing is caulking all the gaps, crevices, everything like that. Similar to the trim video, we want a nice clean finish, and this is the way I'm going to get it. So let's go over that. The important part of this is that it's paintable. If it isn't paintable and you go to paint it, then you're going to have a hard time getting the paint to stick to the caulking. But since this is paintable and paintable in 20 minutes, we should be able to finish this project today. Next step I'm going to take is going over this with sandpaper. If somebody did this who was good at caulking and you couldn't see the lines, probably wouldn't need it. I'm not that guy, so I have to sand afterwards. Last thing we have to do before we paint is tape off where we don't want paint. So I'm going to leave this the neutral color, and I'm going to leave the other desktop the neutral color. So I'm going to tape around the edge, put a black border, or tape around the edge so there is a black border. I marked 1 inch from the 2x4s on here, so that's the line I'm going to use to put down the tape. Alright, we're all taped off and we're ready for paint. So we're going to start with the brush through the corners, go over it with a mini ruler, then probably put down a second coat, but final step. Alright, so let's wrap up this project as we do every project and talk about what I use and how much it cost me. So I used 2 sheets of plywood, $25 each, that brought me in at $50. I used 18 2x4s at $4 a piece, brought me in around $80. I needed screws to put everything together and a little bit of liquid nail, $10. Paint, you can get paint for $20 regardless of what color you're going to paint it. And then the caster wheels, which were $30. So all in all, under $200 for 2 workbenches, one of them being modular that fits over the other one, I think is an extremely good price compared to how much stuff costs now. So improvement number 1 is I'm going to look for better caster wheels. So not only are they hard to push down on the lever and hard to bring back up, it's probably because of how heavy this is. They do have an 800-pound rating, but they seem to want to hold their direction. So when I push it back against the wall, the wheels are facing this way, and if I don't lower it immediately, it'll drift back. I don't know if I can solve this with other caster wheels or this is just the way the retractable wheels work, but that's something I'm going to look into. Additionally, as the caster wheels are rolling around and it's very hard to control this 8-foot-long workbench, I bang it into the wall repeatedly. So behind here, I am missing drywall. All along here, you see it's been banging into the walls. I want to put a piece of trim right along here. I think it'll complement the look, but then also won't be banging into the drywalls. Those are really the only 2 things I would change. Other than that, you have a workbench that has plenty of working room. You have another workbench that's a built-in workbench that can be a desk. I'm very happy with how this came out. But I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see you for the next one.